All right, it is Tuesday, April 1st, but I am with no April Fool today. I have the amazing Sunny Hostin behind the table. Hello,
Thank you,
Sunny.
Brian. Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
All right, we have a lot on the show today. We talked about Senator Cory Booker pulling an all-nighter on the Senate floor.
I think he may still be going on.
I think he is too, and he's in protest of President Trump and his policies. You love what he's doing.
I do.
It's very West Wing. Do you want to see more Democrats doing things like this?
I do, and I've been saying that. You know, I think there's this feeling, and it's anecdotal, but I speak to people on the street,
Sure.
and I get emails from people, and they want to see someone fighting for them.
Yeah.
They want to be energized by that. They want to feel like they're not in it alone. And what Cory Booker is doing, and I know him, he's a friend, I know him personally, he is giving people what they need right now. I think Cory's very good at reading a room, right? And he's part of Democratic leadership. I think he's doing something that a Chuck Schumer did not display. He did not display that fight when it came down to that government shutdown. He did not provide other alternatives. He did not speak to the people. So I would have liked to have seen something like this before capitulating to the Republicans on the government shutdown and on that terrible budget that's going to probably hurt a lot of Americans. So I say, yeah, let's see more of that kind of cohesion. And if you notice during his, it's not a filibuster, but during his time on the floor, in order for him to take a break, other Democrats have to step up and ask him a question. And Schumer's asked about 3 of them. Other senators are helping him do this. So it's also showing a unification with the Democrats in the Senate that we haven't seen.
If they weren't on board with this, he wouldn't be able to go.
He wouldn't be able to go this long.
Right.
Exactly.
It is interesting. I mentioned this last week on the podcast. There was a YouGov poll somewhere that they were talking about which politicians are the most popular right now, and the one that had high popularity right now is Bernie Sanders, which I think is kind of interesting. But whether you agree with Bernie or not,
Jasmine Crockett is up there also.
But you can't debate the fact that he's active right now, and that is what people want to see.
You want to see someone fighting for you, someone that's representing you or your state or your district fighting for you, and that's what Cory Booker's doing.
We had a writer and political commentator, Elie Mystal.
Yeah,
and
that's my buddy.
He had some interesting takes. I mean, he always does. He comes fired up.
He does.
And he's ready to go.
That is really who he is, by the way. He is very, very passionate.
Backstage, he's like that too.
Yeah, he's very passionate. He's very smart. He's the guy, when I have a legal question, I don't look it up on Google. I actually text Elie. And he's just, Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law School. He's a justice correspondent. He covers the Supreme Court. That guy knows everything about this country's history, the country's law. He's just sort of like a walking encyclopedia, a walking Google. And he's just so passionate. And the book, by the way, is fantastic. Just breaking it down to 10 laws that we should get rid of that were passed pre-1965.
Well, that's the premise. He said that on the show. Everything before 1965 should be looked at again. And with so that was one of the hot takes.
Yes.
And the other one was that all voter registration laws should be thrown out, basically.
Yes, it just should be automatic registration. And I love that point because we're supposed to be the best democracy in the world. Yet a lot of other democracies have automatic registration. They have mandatory registration. If you don't register, you have to pay a fine because they want more of the electorate involved. In this country, for some reason, we're into voter suppression. We're into voter IDs. We're into making sure that we have lower turnout. There's a hot mic moment with Governor Landry in Louisiana, and he's speaking to Mike Johnson about the special election in Louisiana, which was like his baby to get these 4 amendments passed. And on the hot mic, Mike Johnson's like, how many people you think, are going to come out? And he's like, well, I thought it was going to be 12%, but it was actually, it's going to be probably 18%. It was actually over 35%, and so everything failed that Governor Landry was trying to push in terms of these amendments. Republicans seem to want less people to vote. Why? Because their policies aren't popular. They hurt the American people.
Well, the way they drive most of this is by implying that there is voter fraud.
By the way, there is no evidence of voter fraud. It's like less than 0.1%, something like that. You guys can check me in the...
But these narratives that continue about 2020 and things like that, they just drive this need for voter ID.
Yeah.
And the implication that the reason Democrats don't want voter ID is because they want illegal immigrants to vote.
No, the reason Democrats don't want voter ID is because they make it much more difficult for elderly people that don't travel, don't have a passport, poor people that don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where Black people had to prove their right to vote. And oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Right. I mean, I think it's been considered fact by most that the more people that vote, the more likely it is that Democrats have an advantage.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it does make sense.
That's why there's gerrymandering, and that's why there's voter suppression, and that's why Republicans want this voter ID stuff.
You supported comedian Amber Ruffin, who's a friend of the show. She's been a guest host here after she was dropped from the White House Correspondents' Dinner lineup.
Yeah.
She was on Seth Meyers' show last night doing a kind of a bit where the takeaway was, take it from me, if there's one thing I learned this weekend, it's that you have to be fair to both sides. She was definitely doing this in a tongue-in-cheek way. What did you think of that, and what do you think of this controversy?
You know, she's a comedian, and she handled her obvious disappointment with comedy.
Yeah, and grace, I thought.
And grace. And I think that was the right thing to do. I think, performing at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is a huge honor. It breaks careers.
It does.
And the fact that you have this Black queer woman getting that opportunity was a really big deal. And again, I take it back to the bully in the in the schoolyard or in the lunchroom. If you let the bully continue to take your lunch, the bully will continue to take your lunch. And so I think the White House Correspondents Association is capitulating to the Trump administration. They came out against her. They didn't want her. And now they hire her and then they fire her. It just looks like weakness. And in the face of fascism, you must be strong. You must be fearless. And even if you're scared, you can't appear to be fearful and capitulate. We're seeing all of our institutions, like big law firms, just fold to this administration. And that's the beginning of fascism. People keep on saying, well, let's wait. We don't know if we're in a constitutional crisis. We don't know if we're, on the road to fascism. Folks, we are. We're here. We're there right now.
It does seem like when I first heard that she had been fired, and I hadn't heard her on that podcast, where she said things that were offensive to some. And that, she's a comedian. This is what she does. But you also knew who she was when you hired her. I think the fact is, you're hiring a comedian beforehand.
Yes.
And then...
I'm sorry, that's what it's a roast. It's a roast of both sides of the political party. And it's a roast on journalists as well. I mean, we've sat in those rooms,
we have.
Brian.
And
I've been there 4 or 5 times. I was there the year that there was I think a historian, and that was actually very good as well.
Ron Chernow, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually excellent, I thought. But I mean, it's fair game.
When it was first announced, I thought it was more about the moment and not about Amber. And I thought, okay, I get it, because there's a lot of people that feel free speech and the freedom of the press is under siege.
Yeah.
So maybe they want to treat it as a serious moment. But it's hard.
I'm just not buying what they're selling.
Do you think that they need a comedian every year?
I think that kind of commentary is necessary, especially when you don't have a President Obama who can take a joke and who has perfect comedic timing and who's dropping the mic. When you don't have someone like that can poke fun at himself and his administration, I think you do need something more.
Yeah. Well, it's coming up in a couple of weeks.
It's coming up in a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, on another topic, Americans are heading to the polls today. It's actually a really consequential day for this Wisconsin State Supreme Court seat.
And 2 Florida seats as well. There are 4 vacancies altogether, but 2 are probably going to go Democrat.
Yeah, but the fact that they're in play is kind of meaningful, I think, it seems.
I think it is. I mean, if you think about it, I think there are 435 seats in Congress, and I think it's like 218 Republicans, 213 Democrat. You can check my math. So there are 4 vacancies. 2 Democrats died. I think one's in Texas and the other one is in Arizona.
But it's almost a temperature check of where everybody is right now.
Yeah, you've got the 2 Florida seats. So we'll see if it's a referendum on the Trump administration. And then you've got Elon Musk, who's trying to buy more democracy, allegedly, in Wisconsin. And it would change the composition of that court. And I think people are wondering, well, why is it so important? It's because Wisconsin is a battleground state. And so if you have a state Supreme Court,
they can redistrict.
They can redistrict, and it can lean very heavily right and change sort of the that blue wall.
Well, you've been saying from the beginning,
or rather the wall.
You've been saying from the beginning that the local elections are the ones that we have to pay attention to.
They're
and
the
these
ones
are the ones that matter.
They are the ones that matter. I mean, I'll vote for town constable. I mean, I don't miss an election. I just think it's very, very important. And that's where the fights usually are in terms of voting rights.
Democrats have done very well in these kind of special elections the last couple of years.
Last couple of years, and this year in particular.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. It'll be interesting, especially because this one, there's been a lot of attention, especially in Wisconsin.
Yes.
A lot of publicity, obviously, with Elon giving away $1 million checks.
And in Florida, the 2 seats in Florida. I mean, it's not going to change necessarily the balance.
The votes, no.
But it will definitely give us a temperature check.
Sure. I mean, the Florida district, I think Trump won by 30 points. In the last I read, the Democrat was polling at +3.
+3.
I mean, that'd be incredible.
It's a huge temp check.
Yeah. All right. Are you surprised that a state Supreme Court seat has become so politicized? Because this is supposed to be nonpartisan.
I'm not, unfortunately, because we've been seeing the Republican Party play chess while the Democrats are playing checkers, right? And so I think we've seen them learn how to weaponize the judiciary, all the federal government and definitely the state governments. This has been a plan that I've been watching, and my friend Elie Mystal, we've been talking about it for years. No one's checking for the local judiciary, and it's really, really important to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
And now every time there's a legal decision that doesn't go the Republicans' way, they're calling for impeachment.
Yes,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
All right. We have a question, an audience question. This is from Nina.
Okay.
I am Catholic.
Hi, Nina.
as is Sonny Hostin. And during the election, my parish started pushing to vote for Donald Trump in a few ways. For example, during the parent meeting of religious education, they showed us a video of why IVF is wrong and goes against the values of the Catholic Church. The messaging from the Pope at the top doesn't seem to be trickling down to my archdiocese or my parish. Have you ever found yourself in great conflict with the Catholic Church? And if so, how do you reconcile that conflict? I know you have because you've talked about it.
I absolutely have. I have certainly with IVF. I had both of my children through IVF, and I understand that the church is against it. And I look at my beautiful, smart, accomplished, kind, empathetic children, and I think, but for that they wouldn't be here. And so, how dare you be against my personal choice to do that? It was very troubling to me, the sex abuse scandal, and moving priests from parish to parish, and the abuse of young children was very, very, very troubling to me. And for a while, I have to admit, I took a step back from the church. My husband did not. He continued going every Sunday, and I did. And I have a dear friend. His name is Edward Beck, Father Edward Beck. We worked together at CNN. And I had to speak to him because I was raising my children Catholic, and I wanted them to be confirmed. And I was struggling with the faith. And he explained to me that, it's exactly that. Religion is faith-based. And so it's almost like, you're believing in something that you haven't seen.
Right.
And if your heart is in that men don't necessarily make the church, God makes the church. And so while you're seeing men or women showing you these videos, you have to really look to your faith and look to your God and what you believe. And if you can do that within the structure of the Catholic faith, then you can do that. And that's what I've chosen to do. But I also speak up. So I don't think there's anything wrong with sitting in a room where someone's telling you IVF is wrong and you saying, I don't think it's wrong. And I don't think the Pope thinks it's wrong. So I would say, use your voice in your parish, and you be the change agent.
You went viral. You've said it many times, but the first time especially when you said that Jesus would be leading the Pride Parade.
He sure would.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, our God is a loving God. Jesus took in what we would consider to be marginalized groups. And so one of the most marginalized groups in our country is the trans community, which is less than 1% of the population. And I think Jesus would be at the Pride Parade, most definitely at the drag brunch, most definitely at that brunch in Florida that Anna and I love going to. I truly, truly, truly believe that.
We got another question. Actually, no, this is a hot topic that we didn't get to.
Okay.
It was a Dear Abby story, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. It was on the list, but it didn't make the cut.
Okay.
The person wrote in and asked, how do I manage friendships in which I'm close with one friend, but I don't enjoy spending time with their new spouse? I talked to Alyssa about this.
Oh.
Should I slowly pull away from the relationship, or do I confront my friend about the issue? And what would brutally honest Sunny Hostin do?
See, it's a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
They chose.
They did.
And you're a little stuck with that choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may not work out, but I think if this is a good friend of yours, I wouldn't lose my friend over her choice of a spouse.
I was saying it is pretty rare to find two sides of a couple. You click with both.
Yeah, you're not going to click. You're not going to. I have some friends where we all click together.
That's great.
But no, you just smile and you freaking
and you
grin and bear it.
Yeah.
You don't say I don't like your spouse because what if they're the person's spouse for like the next 26 years?
Right.
I bet you this is one of my kids. Sorry, Paloma.
All right, it's fine. Go ahead.
Hi, Paloma. I'm doing a podcast right now. You're on it.
Hi, Paloma.
Say say hi to Brian.
Hi, Paloma.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are things? Yeah, you're
Topic of discussion.
no, well, your mom did mention that she's having trouble with the empty nest thing, and I was curious.
I miss you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting topic, mainly because I miss mom absolutely, but when I'm in my bed and I'm just like, this is such a good day, I'm just gonna like not. I feel so bad.
Thanks,
like,
Paloma.
Wait.
Do I stalk you too much at school and by text?
You explicitly state you're a hovering mom. So.
How many days can you go without talking to her without her freaking out?
That's not even a statement. It's every day. So
it's every day.
Sorry.
Okay.
Every day.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Of course. I literally was exhausted yesterday, and I was like, I'm just tired. I want to take a nap. Are you okay?
I thought you were sick. I'm sorry.
No, I was tired.
I love you. I love you
too.
Okay.
College is awesome. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
I loved college so much.
I stalk her,
Yeah.
as is evident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Life 360 is not enough for
Who
me.
calls more often, her or Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mama's boy, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Gabriel calls more often.
Yeah.
But she'll respond to a text. He does not do text. He likes phone.
All right. I respect it.
I can't believe she said I call her every day.
I mean,
I just text
It's
her
not a
every
surprise
day.
for anybody listening. Yeah, like it's fine. I mean,
I just text every day. I don't call every day.
are you still tracking her on the Life 360 at
I am.
college?
Both of them, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like at random times, you just check in and see where they are?
Yes, I do, especially at night.
Okay. And if they're not in the dorm rooms?
I text
Yeah, of course you do.
and then I call.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm not going to do the same thing, so I'm probably going to do the same thing.
You are.
Yeah.
You're going to.
Yeah.
It's dark outside.
My daughter was at a
Where are they?
sleepover, and she was at an ice cream shop at 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, is there an adult with you? Where are you? What's happening?
Where are you? What
Yeah,
exactly?
yeah.
It's dark outside.
Yeah, and there was, and it was fine. All right. Thank you for joining me today, Sonny.
Thank you, Brian.
Tomorrow, I'll be back with Joy Behar, and we will see you then.